Hey everyone, I hope you've all been having a great game jam so far. This is week 2 and this is my second behind the scenes video for the 30-second quest game jam. I had a pretty chaotic week, a lot of stuff happened behind the scenes, and in terms of the game I decided to change the idea completely on Wednesday. So let's see how I went with that. So what you're seeing now is some footage from before, and I wasn't really happy with this. I was following the original design, but it just wasn't fun. It felt very bland. There wasn't anything unique about it. There was no hook. Just standard third-person gameplay with hazards. This was cool. It was the concept that you could actually create your own levels and then play through them, but it was still a bit bland because it had that boring gameplay from before. So whilst it was a lot of fun to make this and implement it, it didn't add anything to the game, and I was at a point where I was just adding things for the sake of adding things. So with this new concept, I decided that I was going to redo a lot of the things I had done. I remade the characters from scratch, and I took a lot of inspiration from a character that I made in the past, a little knight character, and you'll see the character being made in the background, you'll also see an enemy being made, and then you'll see some implementations for the animations for the attack. And the reason I made a new character was to simplify the animation process, as I wanted a 3-combo attack. And doing it with a character like this that you see here, with a really simple joint setup, armature setup, it's really easy to make 3 attacks very quickly. And the great thing is that I've made all 3 attacks this week. I can just improve upon them over the days left in the game jam, the weeks left in the game jam, and this is kind of like iteration 1, which is really nice. The enemy I haven't done anything fancy for. I've just set it up, and I set up the basic rig, but I haven't animated it or done proper weight painting. I just wanted something visually there to see when I prototype. Now into the idea itself. Oh, one other thing. I really like this method of what I'm doing here with the textures and materials. So this is called texture atlasing. I've discussed it a ton in the past, but basically you make like a nice little color palette. As you can see here, I've got the color palette there with a few different shades of colors, and you simply unwrap and take the UVs and put them into different places, and you can create really cool shading and different detail. I really love this approach, and it's fun. My main premise for a lot of the methods I implement is I want to be enjoying the process and not hating it. That is why I'm doing this style for this game jam. Back into the idea of the game. So the concept is that you have the sort of time. Time is at the core of the game. It's basically your life, as without time the world falls apart and everything basically falls into the abyss. So as the game goes on, the counter from 30 will go down all the way to 0, and as that counter goes down, the world will crumble and fall apart in front of you dynamically. If you manage to defeat an enemy, time will rewind by a certain amount of seconds, and that means the world will, in front of you, rewind, and pathways that you may not have been able to get to, you can go to now because they've come back to life and stuff like that. I'm also messing around with the concept later that if you get hit by an enemy, you lose time, and that the whole premise of this game is that time is everything. Time is at the core of it, and the kind of lore behind it is that this character is the guardian of time, and something happened to time itself, so they're going through all these levels to fix the problem, which will be at the end. That's probably for after the jam. That's the lore behind it, so we have this backstory for the music and stuff. But in terms of just the game jam itself, it's probably just going to be like 5 or 6 really fun levels. But yeah, I'm really happy with this idea. I tried to be really creative with it and really incorporate the theme. I thought it was really important to make the core of the experience all about time. This was the first time that I had done third-person combat inside of Unreal Engine 4. I wanted to keep it really simple for this prototype, just so I can get something functional to send to Aaron and see what he thinks of the game. So how it works is that when you left click, it will trigger the first attack, which will play an animation, and when that animation is stopped, there is a short delay where you have a chance to press the button again. If you do press the button again, it will go into the second phase of the combo. If you do not press it again, it just stops the combo, it allows you to walk again, and allows you to go back into the running animation. And I basically just do this 3 times. So at the start when you left click the first time, second time, and for the third attack. So it was pretty simple, and it just included a ton of delay nodes and boolean nodes, and it wasn't anything complicated. It took quite a bit of testing to figure out a level that would work. The first iteration, the level was way too small, so you could kind of just speed through it and you didn't have to worry about killing the enemies. So I adjusted some of the times, and in the second iteration, it was a bit more difficult and things would fall around you. The main thing I wanted to portray was that the objects were falling around you, not to make something difficult or balanced per se. It's just a simple, very early prototype where you can visually see that objects are falling. That's the main thing I wanted people to be able to recognize. So my focus when creating the level was to figure out the exact perfect times to make things fall in front of the player. So it's slightly cinematic, but it also affects the gameplay. There are sections which will fall out, and if you don't defeat the enemies in time, or if you're not paying attention, you'll either fall through the floor or the level will be destroyed before you can get to it. And if you're curious about how it works, each tile has a range of time before it falls. I did a minimum and maximum time, so it has a bit of randomness, so when you play a level, it's never the exact same, it's not super predictable. So if you lose say you lose one game, because each tile has a different range, say the time between like 20 seconds to 25 seconds, this tile might fall, you have to really adapt each time you play and keep track of the environment. And I really like that in games where you can't just get comfortable, and when you die, it's your own mistake. I like games where you have to adapt and constantly be on the lookout. And that's why I really enjoy this dynamic environment, because if you get stuck, like the level will always be changing and it'll always be a bit different. Even if you get stuck, maybe you die 2 times, you win the third, it was a bit visually different each time, which is really nice. In terms of the enemies, they have no functionality, they're just standing there at the moment to test the mechanic of being able to rewind time. What I plan on including are a ranged enemy, a melee enemy, hazards, so like cannonballs being shot left and right that you have to avoid, and other types of gameplay hazards, maybe some kinds of traps or spike traps, a lot of things that are moving. I don't want anything really static. I want the player to be able to move, because if the level's crumbling in different ways every time you play, I want the challenges, I want all the hazards to force the player to move in different ways. I don't want static hazards which you can just jump over or move left of. I want them to be something you have to adapt to. A lot of this game is about adapting to the current situation and figuring out the best way to get out of it. I also want to include a few type of puzzle levels where there'll be like orbs you hit for more time and sequences you have to do to complete the level. One thing I want to experiment soon with that Aaron mentioned was an ice level. I think that would be really fun. So icy surfaces where you're kind of slipping around. I think that would be pretty interesting to try out. He also mentioned the ability to dash, which might be something interesting. Hook shot, I'm not sure if we'll bother incorporating that, but it could be interesting as well. Surfaces that could potentially slow you down, like sticky traps or swamps, that could be interesting. It depends if it works well with this idea of making the player move in interesting ways and making them make very rapid decisions second to second. So yeah, it should be pretty interesting to incorporate a few of these. And that's it for the second week of the 30-second game jam behind the scenes. I've really been enjoying making these videos. I hope you're enjoying watching them. If you want to be in the spotlight, which will be up most likely on Monday, so this is the second week now. The second week spotlight video will be up on Monday. I usually get them out on Saturday or Sunday, but I've had a really busy week this week. So if you want to be in that video, make sure to upload a 20-second to 30-second clip of your game in the itch.io link below, and that will link you to a page where we're all posting our progress. With that 20 to 30 second clip, I will be able to incorporate it into the spotlight video, which will be up on Monday. So I hope you're all looking forward to that. I hope you all enjoy the rest of the game jam, and I'll see you all in the next video.